Hello everyone, Legend Begins here, and welcome to another Game Legend. This time, we will be reviewing Project Nightmare, a Banjo-Kazooie creepypasta. Banjo-Kazooie is one of the greatest games for the Nintendo 64. I remember having this game when I was 8 or 9 years old. I always thought that the game was funny in some ways, but in other ways, it was quite scary. Nowadays, I spend my time researching the betas for video games. I came across many, such as Luigi's Mansion and Super Mario Sunshine, but the most interesting seemed to be Project Dream. Project Dream was what was supposed to be Banjo-Kazooie, but for the SNES. After it was changed to Banjo-Kazooie, fans seemed to like it more. I thought that Project Dream would have been the coolest video game ever. I searched all over the internet for a ROM to download, but nothing came up. As I researched Project Dream more and more, I found out that the main villain of the game would be Captain Black-Eye. That name, for some reason, caught my attention. I couldn't see what this Captain Black-Eye character looked like because there were only 2 known images of the game. Both only showing the main character, which was a boy named Edison. I googled Captain Black-Eye to see exactly what he is. As soon as I saw his face, I remembered. He was from Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, and that is how I remembered him. I realized, since Captain Black-Eye was supposed to be in Project Dream, I should check out the actual game itself to see if there are any other used things from Project Dream there in Banjo-Kazooie. I went to my basement to find the Nintendo 64 with Banjo-Kazooie. I dug up some cool things like Mario Kart 64 and Gex. I finally found Banjo-Kazooie, which was hiding right under the Nintendo 64 this whole time. I returned upstairs and set up my old Nintendo 64. I blew the dust out of the cartridge and pushed it in. It took me a few tries to get started up, but when it did, I was 100% ready. Although I could say I was nervous, I guess I didn't really know. The game began with a Rare logo, but instead of it squishing like a bug and going into the intro, it was just a black screen that showed the logo for Rare with no music, then simply skipped to the file select screen. I didn't notice this at the time and kept playing. The first file was with Banjo laying in bed. This file is from when I first got the game. I decided it was my best bet to continue on from there. When I selected it, Banjo didn't even wake up. I was a little confused by this, but I wasn't too concerned either. It began at a black screen for about 14 seconds with no audio, except for the witch Grunty laughing for the whole 14 seconds. After the black screen, I appeared in Grunty's lair entrance. I went with what I remembered and walked straight to Mumbo's mountain. When I went there, I didn't see what I remembered. Mumbo was standing in front of the level entrance, sobbing in a corner, sitting down. I interacted with him, and Mumbo said, "What was seen will never be unseen." The message kept repeating over and over. It didn't matter how many times I pressed A. He didn't stop. The nervous feeling inside of me grew. I wasn't sure what to do, but I reset the system to find out what exactly was happening. I thought that just maybe I was at a specific part of the game that I couldn't remember, so I reset the system and tried playing again on the same file. The game just automatically brought me to Grunty's lair once again. This time, her portrait was hanging, and it became something different. If I'm correct, I believe it was Captain Black-Eye. It shocked me to see this, as if it was never supposed to be here. I knew for a fact, and when I saw it, I had an uncomfortable feeling, and I had to shut the Nintendo 64 off. I was alone that night and I couldn't fall asleep. I kept having these strange dreams about that painting. It seemed like there was some way the game sort of knew I wanted to research Project Dream. I went to bed trying not to think about anything Banjo-Kazooie related. I watched TV to help me out, but his face, it just couldn't stop showing up in my mind. I ended up sleeping that night, But when I woke up, I put the cartridge in the Nintendo 64 once more. It started up normally for once. It actually began the game in Banjo's house and started playing, but also being very cautious at the same time. When I went outside, the audio cut off. A text box appeared with no head to show who was speaking, and it said, "Arg, you pesky bear! You will suffer for stealing me glory." Then the screen quickly faded to black. What I saw next was horrifying, not even meant to be in a video game. The screen showed a forest just like the intro to the game. You could see grass and trees. It was very quiet. The screen stayed there for a good 2 or 3 minutes while I was just watching. Then suddenly Banjo popped up right in front of the camera, screaming. His pupils were very tiny. I think he had gone insane. Kazooie came out of his backpack with no eyes whatsoever. Banjo began flailing his arms around, like he does for one of his attacks in the game. Banjo stopped screaming. He approached the camera and whispered, "It's over. It's all over." Banjo just started to bleed from the eyes and eventually just died. The camera zoomed out for a while, and then Grunty's laugh repeated over and over. I was in shock. I felt like passing out, puking, and even crying, but somehow I managed to just sit still and stare down at Banjo. After about 5 minutes, the screen went black. I took the game out, went to my room and stared at it. Trembling in fear, I had no idea what to do. I wrapped up the game and used bubble wrap and sold it on eBay. The buyer surely didn't know what they would get into. I felt a bit happy getting rid of it, but the fear kept taking over that happiness. I tried emailing Nintendo several times about this, but they would just tell me that I'm insane. Or tell me that they aren't involved with Banjo-Kazooie. Okay, yeah. So, what did I think about this creepypasta? It was decent. The reviews, like the comments, are only 3, but there's a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10, and a 9 out of 10. No. At best, I give it a 7 out of 10. It wasn't particularly scary, and it didn't make much sense. There was no kind of cause to it, no kind of haunting, no anything that would really explain it. It just happened, pretty much. And I don't understand why it bothered you so badly when it could just be a ROM hack or something of the sort. You didn't really give us enough background information. Now, second of all, when he called Nintendo and everything, he needed to expound upon that, because that I didn't really pick up anything that he was putting down, so to say. Yeah, but really, it was like, why? It didn't make much sense for it to be there, and for one, Nintendo does not respond when you email them, unless I'm totally wrong. If so, correct me, but I'm fairly certain that Nintendo does not really respond to emails, especially like that. But, yeah, it doesn't really make much sense. However, I do like the part where he says he sold it on eBay, because that really does set up for a sequel, which I hope is made, because I would love to read it about the buyer who actually ended up getting it off of eBay. Fortunately, I'm safe because I bought Banjo-Tooie on eBay, not Banjo-Kazooie, so... Anyway, but, yeah, I just reviewed this because I'm playing a lot of Banjo-Kazooie. I recently 100% of the game, and I thought that Banjo-Kazooie pasta would be pretty good. And it was decent. It was decent. 7 out of 10. Link to the pasta will be in the description down below. Music is Mad Monster Mansion theme. Just look it up on YouTube. You can find it anywhere. And play Banjo-Kazooie. It's a great game. Easily at least a 9 out of 10, maybe a 10 out of 10. I love it. One of my favorite games. Thanks for watching, guys. And remember, it's just a legend. Right? A game legend.